Okay, so on to this week's Street Talk then. I thought it was a bit of a mixed bag this week, Gemma, I have to say. Started off really, really strong. I thought that Monday's episodes was really, really exciting with the kind of climax-ish to the Justin and Daisy storyline. And then the Steven storyline took over, and I'm still kind of flip-flopping about like how much I'm enjoying it. There's bits I am, bits I'm not. But I think with Carla out the way now, I think maybe I will enjoy it a little bit more. But yeah, so I'm going to have to see as we go on and talk about it today just where the land lies and where I settle with my score on this one, because I haven't quite decided it yet. What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret.
Have you got any inklings?
I know everything.
Okay, well, we're going to be starting off with talking about that LS Steve storyline as the Lord of the Underworld is crowned. I did like that last shot in tonight's episode.
It was very like film noir kind of, like gangstery sort of, the boss at the end.
Yeah, the camera slowly panning out of him pouring his whiskey and just being there surveying his land.
His kingdom,
So we'll talk about that one first, and then Look Who's Stalking will definitely come next, because there was some quite exciting stuff there. Now we've just kind of got smaller stuff. So we got the Faye storyline and somehow managed to get third billing tonight. Faye's face to face. Calling it with Miley, and that's a new character that we get to meet this week. I'm sure we've got lots to say about her. After that, we've got the Marco YOLO story, which was another highlight of Monday's episode for me. The meeting with Beth and Marco was quite fun. We had a return of Jacob's dada, and I'm just going to keep on calling the storyline that as long as it lasts, because whatever he's up to, that's what the storyline title is called. And alas, Evelyn does not have a storyline title, but she did appear for her birthday this week, which was a lot of fun too. So I'm going to pass over to you, Stephen Reed's biggest fan. True or
right,
not?
No, hang on. I just want to quickly talk about Miley.
Oh, go on.
So how was she? 7, 8?
Well.
Right, no. In the show,
yes.
the fictional character is...
I think 7.
Right.
Maybe 8.
So here's my question. I can't remember. Where was Miley Cyrus at when she was named Miley?
I'm pretty sure that Miley was
pre-
named after Miley Cyrus.
Oh, yes, she was. Of course she was.
Oh.
Miley's not a name.
What?
Miley's not a real name, is it? Sorry, Miley. Sorry, Miley Cyrus.
Sorry, any listener Mileys that are listening.
Right.
Probably not
Isn't
many.
it based on a nickname? Isn't it based on the word smiley? But she couldn't say it properly.
I really have got
I don't care. But was this pre or
blown my
post?
mind.
Was this pre or post Wrecking Ball?
Oh, yeah. And she goes off the rails a bit.
What was Faye thinking all this time? Is this why she couldn't bear to see her daughter again? Because she's just deadly embarrassed that she named her child? Because I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, that she named her Miley when Miley Cyrus was still a cutesy little Disney girl.
I'm not sure. It feels like Wrecking Ball was quite a long time ago.
I know, but, I mean, is it really an appropriate child's name considering all the things that she's gotten up to?
I think
Miley,
that young Faye probably just thought she was being edgy.
I'll give a shout out to Miley Cyrus. She does what she wants, but she's not child appropriate, is she? Let's not pretend.
Maybe not. Okay, so...
I quite like Miley Cyrus, but I wouldn't call...
Wouldn't name your kid after her.
I wouldn't even call her Goldfish Miley.
Right, so...
Anyway, if you're listening and your name's Miley, write in and tell me. What do you think? Also, I want to know, what does Miley, the character, think of her name? And how come Jackson isn't like... I would have just...
It's a very musical kind of family, that, isn't it?
Name.
Jackson, that's a bit of a...
Yeah, Jackson,
a bit of an iffy kind of musical kind of name, depending on which side of the fence that you sit there.
What could you quietly change her name to that's a bit like Miley? It doesn't sort of disrespect her origins. What's the name? It sounds like Miley. Miles? Mylene, yeah, Mylene Class.
Yeah, exactly. She's a musician you take home to meet your mum, isn't it?
She's
Mylene
a proper
Class.
good lass, she is.
Yeah,
that one,
tinkling the ivories away.
Good. Yeah, okay, right. So she's called...
Good friend to Kim Marsh, I hear.
Oh, well, there you go.
They were in Hearsay together, weren't they?
I don't know.
Mylene Class.
I really don't know who was in Hearsay.
Mylene.
Kim, yeah. How many people were in
Danny.
it? Oh, is it boys?
Noel.
Yes. What songs did they do?
And another one.
H.
No, you know that. Anyway, right.
LS Steve, right, on Monday, Carla tells Peter that she's looking into, she's nervous, she's looking up, because she's on the hook for this accident that she's, I'm not going to say caused, because it makes it sound like you sort of, you know, at the beginning of one of these adverts where you flick over a domino and then at the end of it, like, there's a car. with a marble that falls on it or something. She didn't really cause an accident. She was the accident.
Yeah.
So she drove the car into Paul.
She gave Paul a sore hand.
And now Paul's got a funny hand. So she's in trouble. She's looking up because she didn't actually report this accident. And she also wasn't insured. And she's like, you know what, Peter, this is looking quite serious. I could actually go to prison for this.
That's kind of been notable by its absence this week, hasn't it?
Like
the Paul Hand storyline.
She's having a tough time of it. So we'll just solve some other crimes.
It's been odd how, there's been nothing on that. And also, the Amy and Aaron story completely fallen off a cliff. Didn't even get a mention this week. I know what you said last week about them wanting to take their time and everything, but there's some very strange pacing with this kind of supposedly big issue sort of storyline. She wakes up the next day after being, molested by Paul. Amy, yeah.
What?
Amy? Paul? No, sorry, not Paul. Aaron.
Paul's like, I can't tell what my hand's doing.
Sorry. Oh my God. Got alien hand syndrome.
It's
Carla's fault, everybody.
Right,
sorry.
Does everybody know what alien hand syndrome is? Because this is me and my mum's favourite thing. We used to watch these unsolved mysteries and all those kind of spooky programmes on Sky when I was a kid. And one of them was called Alien Hand Syndrome. I'm sure I don't know if people were making it up, but basically one of their hands would do the opposite of what they wanted it to do, or say you'd be talking to someone and the hand would just slap them around the face, or there was a lady, there was a reenactment of this lady trying to get dressed and she was doing her shirt up and her other hand was coming underneath and just undoing all the buttons.
Oh my gosh, that's how you turn around the Paul Hand story
by
making it alien hand syndrome.
I love it.
No, sorry, after Aaron molested Amy.
It's not molested, he raped her.
I know, I just don't want to say the word.
I know, this is what I said to you. I said it last week, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's one of those words.
But there's been nothing at all this week.
Well, no, there isn't.
Really bizarre.
We could talk about everything that hasn't happened this week, but we should also probably talk about what did.
Okay.
So, Stephen gets a call from Rufus, and Carla's been getting a doctor's appointment. Stephen and Rufus meet up back round the back of Underworld after dark, and Stephen buys some LSD.
Yes, he does.
What are you looking at?
I'm just looking. Sorry, I just got a text message from lovely George Banks.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, whoa, sorry. Oh, me and the podcast listeners will just wait for you and your celebrity friend.
Go, carry
Wednesday, on. Carla is worriedly looking at these websites because now she's also, remember, she wasn't insured. And Peter's like, we've got to go to the doctors today. But she's like, I don't need a doctor, I need a lawyer. Meanwhile, Sarah...
Well, Adam and Dee Dee are crying out for people to take them on, aren't they?
They can't. Don't forget, because Paul has instructed Dee Dee, so it would be a conflict of interest.
Yes, you're right.
Yes. So meanwhile, Sarah is turning into the dopiest, silly...
She's been there for ages.
I know, but she gets worse, isn't she? She's trying to look up cool American phrases that she could drop into conversation. As though...
Even though the clients aren't even American, well, the people that she's speaking to, they just represent an American company.
It wasn't just, it wasn't Americanisms coming out of our mouths every day. I also don't really like it. It's one of those things that's like, let's just...
I'd never heard of this Monday morning quarterback thing, no.
I thought it was a fairly common
phrase.
So
it's a kind of...
But it's not a phrase that we need in this country. That's the other thing I just want to say. It doesn't have any bearing. We don't watch American football.
It was almost kind of Jonathan Harvey-esque, because he likes to put running jokes throughout episodes, and this just kept being dropped in throughout the Wednesday's episode. But I just thought it was hilarious when the meeting was going ahead and Sarah starts to try using it and gets completely talked over by one of the others. It's like,
I was going to say it.
Well.
And then I think, I don't even know if this was supposed to be a joke, but Stephen comes out and he says in one sentence about 3 different Americanisms, just off one after the other, and she didn't even notice. Anyway, at the doctor's, Carla is talking. She's talking to Dr. Gavis.
I know Dr. Gavis got Wednesday and Friday episode appearance this week.
So she's
That's
like,
gotta be worth some points.
I'm fine. And Peter's like, no, she's not fine. She's really stressed out, and this insurance claim thing's hanging over her. And Carla says, my psychosis has come back 3 times now, but it feels different from when I had it before. It doesn't feel like the same thing. And Dr. DeGalis says, have some diazepam and try to relax. Great, thank you. Stephen sees Carla in the street later and offers to take the lead in the meeting. She's like, no, I don't think so. So the Nipper Snapper meeting starts. And at the beginning of this scene, Sarah and Stephen are like shaking the hands of these two new clients, and it looked like one of those stock videos of like business meeting. Shake your hand, shake hands, shake. So they have a bit of banter. It's Carla, Stephen, Sarah, and the two American clients who aren't from America. And I wonder whether they just decided, look, we can't have any more Americans in the show because people are going to get mad.
Well, we already had, we had Miley and Stephen together in this episode, didn't we, as our Canadian representatives.
People get very weird about that kind of stuff. So, she's... What?
I was just going to say, Carla was great. She was bang on form, just undermining Stephen left, right and centre, wasn't she?
Stephen, go make some tea for me and everyone else. So he goes off to make the tea, and Michael's standing outside. He's kind of molesting a mannequin wearing knickers because he really wants to go into the meeting because he's the guy that came up with such amazing...
I know.
Slogans as troublemaker and whatever the other thing is, trouble solver or...
I don't know.
So
it's so catchy and memorable.
Stephen goes to make the tea. Obviously, he puts LSD into Carla's mug.
Obviously,
remembers. She's like, I always forget to put LSD in Carla's tea, but that's how she takes it these days. It's a danger mug. It's red.
Yeah, he's learnt the lessons from the last time when everybody's tea was in the same white mug. He's like, right, I'm gonna put red danger mug.
Danger.
Gonna remember
Carla.
this one. Yeah.
Also, one of her favourite colours.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Don't know if she still likes it now. Sally interrupts him a bit and then he gets annoyed and squirts even more LSD in there.
I was a bit disappointed by the quality of Carla's hallucinations on Wednesday's episode.
She didn't have any melty faces.
No. I mean, when Stephen had it, and he did give that, he had quite a strong dose. Maybe Carla's building up an immunity to it or something.
I don't know. What?
And that was Stephen's first time. But yeah, he was seeing all sorts, wasn't he? He was saying murder victims coming back from the dead, transforming portraits. He was seeing rainbow colours and everything. And Carla just got a bit of a camera jitter today.
On Wednesday, I was a bit annoyed, and I think that Coronation Street needs to apologise and show a balanced view of LSD, because I think they're starting to stigmatise it. I think they're giving illegal drugs a bad name.
Yeah.
Because both Carla and Stephen have had bad trips, but neither of them have said anything like, it's opened my mind to the oneness of the universe.
Just imagine that.
Imagine if Carla was like, it doesn't even matter if we sell any more knickers because there's no difference between me and you and the chair and the plant and the trees and the birds. I'm going to buy a cat.
Carla just needs to have some kind of revelation while she's high on LSD. Like,
that's exactly.
Now I know how to avoid being one sale away from
I know
liquidation.
what we should do. Stop trying to sell t-shirts and go back to selling knickers.
Maybe she's like, why do we have a knicker factory?
She's like,
nobody makes fabrics.
I'm having an existential
anymore.
crisis. I don't think my existence makes no sense.
She's like, we should go into like coding and apps.
Yeah,
we AI.
We should make vapes.
Yeah, just imagine that. Underworld
Can
vapes.
you imagine how many people would complain to Ofsted and
Ofsted?
Oh yeah. What's it called?
Ofcom.
And probably a few people go to Ofsted, just confused.
Maybe.
Anyway, so Carla realises that life is just a dream and ultimately fleeting and pointless. In the middle of a business meeting, which is not the best place to have it, is it? Stephen and Sarah are this kind of happens right at the end of the meeting. She's kind of slumped in a sad heap.
Yeah, it was quite a transformation, wasn't it? Considering how she was firing on all cylinders up until this point, and then as soon as she slurps her tea, she's there kind of all hunched over, and the camera's all shaky.
It takes a while for it to kick in. It's by the end of the meeting she's gone. And Stephen's like, sorry about her. She's had some personal issues. And Carla's like, what? Remind me what you're here for again? And they're like, ha, 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 ha. And Sarah should have been like, oh, it's just one of those English things that we say. You wouldn't understand because you're American. And they're like, we are English. We're English too. So he gets thrown out, and Michael jumps out. And he's like, oh, I did it. It's me. And they're like, well done. Great ideas. And everybody celebrates because they've got an American distributor.
Hooray.
And they're all drinking. And Stephen says... See, this is the thing, right? Stephen, I said this. Stephen's the best boss that Underworld's ever had. He is.
I'm gonna say no.
Why? Yeah, okay, he's drugs people. Yeah, okay, he's murdered somebody.
What's he done to be a best boss?
He's nice to the workers.
That's because he's trying to get something,
Yeah, exactly.
To be nefarious and sneaky.
No, you're confusing being a villain with being a boss, right? Yes, bosses are nice to you because you work for them and that you're doing something for them. But you wouldn't know that by the way they ever get treated by anybody else on the show. Mm. He gave Michael his card to go to the pub. He's treated him loads of times. He's let him get finish work early. He's really, if you actually just ignore all the other stuff, yes I know, but if you actually look at how he interacts with people and what he actually does, well, whatever the reason for it is, whether it's selfishness or whatever, because he wants you to like him, I don't care. He's still really nice to everybody.
Excuse me, what about lovely Johnny?
Yeah, but Johnny, wasn't we talking about him in the strike video when he told everyone off because they were watching a movie?
Yeah, well, Stephen probably would do as well. Sorry, Johnny was the loveliest boss of Underworld. That is not going to be changed.
Now. He's dead.
Well, I don't think Stephen's going to be alive and kicking by this time next year. I'm going to make that...
good prediction.
Well,
So, they all... See, he gives them champagne. It's actually champagne as well. It's not Prosecco or anything. So, he tells them all, Carla's mind's not on the job. It's a mental health issue, but hopefully she'll get on top of it before they all basically lose their jobs because she's in charge and she's also useless. Here's my question. In the UK, we'll often have celebration drinks which are Prosecco. Yes. What do you have in America that's like knockoff champagne?
I don't know.
Do you guys have Prosecco
I've got no
as well?
answer to this.
What do you guys have?
They just have, I don't know,
what do they
beer
have?
in red cups.
Well, they had red cups at the thing, which I thought was weird because we don't normally have those in this country.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Carla wanders into the celebration drinks and she's looking the worst for wear. And she's like, why are you all whispering about me? You're talking about me behind my back. Everyone get out. And Stephen's patronising her. The factory girls are looking on. They all pack up to leave and talk about how worried they are. And Stephen sends them off to the pub with his card to get drinks. And he stays behind. Sally goes to the cab office to tell Peter that Carla's relapsed, and so he rushes back to the factory. She's sitting on the floor with her shaky cam, and she doesn't want to call an ambulance. She's just struggling, and but she thinks it's going to pass. So he walks her back to the flat, and Rufus happens to see this, and Stephen's accompanying them together, and immediately he puts it all together. He looks very suspicious.
Yeah, another lovely curry coincidence there. That just as Carla's tottering back to the flat, Rufus just happens to be there.
Carla continues to freak out in the flat. She's like, everything's moving. I don't like it here. I've got to go. She's trying to push her way out, and Peter again is like, we need to take her to the hospital. And Steve's like, no. Because obviously he doesn't want her to have any tests done because it will show up in her blood. Peter thanks him for being there today and says, I'm going to make sure that she doesn't go to the factory. And Stephen then lays it on really thick and says, oh no, Carla's brilliant. We need her. Don't let her stay home too long. She's a genius. She's wonderful. All the success of the factory is just down to her. And so he's got his alibi then for not being an arse. So
this, I mean, at times, it felt like this was just, going on a bit of a loop. Carla gets some LSD. Yeah. She goes a bit crazy. Is there an excuse for her? What's the excuse going to be this time for her not to go to the hospital? It just...
I'm just going to say one thing here, and that is that if you're having a mental health crisis, it's not necessarily A&E is not necessarily the place for you to go. I don't know what they could do for her there.
Yeah, but
in particular.
I'm glad. Well, yeah, I know.
They think she's got psychosis, so there's nothing that they could do at hospital that's going to make any difference. It's not like they don't know what's wrong with her. They're wrong about what's wrong with her.
Yeah.
But they think that they know, and I honestly think that it would be actually a bad idea to take her to hospital, because she could get into all kinds of trouble if she's running around and. Do you want her? I mean, the thing is, like, if she got confused and she started moving around and like getting confused and shouting at people, they might even have to like
sedate her.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good idea, is it?
I just think it's very odd how she's flicking back between, you know, having relapses like this and then being absolutely fine, and that, I don't know. I think that people might start to notice. Hang on, why is she being like this? Well,
they think they know. What do you mean?
I know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think this is that suspicious, really.
Okay.
The only thing that's suspicious is that they haven't just done a routine blood test and gone, I'm just going to make sure that everything...
Ooh, there's a bit of LSD in here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they haven't done that, but the story says they didn't, so they haven't. We're just going to have to all deal with it, aren't we? So Stephen goes to the bar, the Rovers, and they're all talking about, oh, poor Carla, we really need her to fire on all cylinders, so she should stay away to recuperate. And then Sarah comes into the pub with Rufus, and he hears that Stephen made the tea for Carla earlier, and he's like, So he takes Stephen to one side and says...
Hang on a minute, I've figured out what's been going on here then.
I know what you've been up to. I think you've been spiking her with LSD, what I've been selling you. And Stephen's like, no, it's just mental psychosis. And Rufus like, I know what you've been getting up to, and I'm going to make sure that you give me money, otherwise I'm going to go and tell everyone. And Stephen's like, no, no, you're making it up. And he's like, oh, I know then. I know I'm right. And Stephen says, if you go and tell everyone, I'm going to tell everyone about your wife and your escorts. And he's like, I don't even care anymore because my wife's left me, so I can't lose nothing now, can I?
Coronation Street really is a programme of classic northern folk, isn't it? As you can tell
and
from
great
the
accents.
battle of the accents.
I wanted to do Rufus's accent because I don't want anyone to accuse us of taking the mick out of people for just doing northern accents.
Yeah.
But there's not very many opportunities.
Rufus is just my Danny Dyer, really.
Not very many opportunities for us to do southern accents on the show, so when there is one, we'll make sure that we do that one too.
So Rufus has got Stephen.
I want another drink, and that's just for starters. And then
little bit of blackmail.
Who knows what else he's got out of him.
He doesn't show up on Friday's episode.
No.
So
Friday, Carla's having a miserable morning. Peter wants to call Dr. Gaddis, and Carla doesn't see the point. She wants to figure it out for herself. She feels fine now. She doesn't understand why this is coming on and going away. And then she goes back into work, and Stephen's like, what are you doing here? And she says, don't worry about it. I'm not going home. I know what I'm doing. I'm okay now. And the workers are all like, oh gosh, I don't know what to say about this. And they're all being awkward. And Carla goes to make the tea for everybody. And they kind of make fun of her a bit, like she doesn't know how to make tea. And then she drops the mug on the floor. So they were right, really.
Yeah. Didn't know how to make tea, didn't know how to make toast. No wonder they thought it was her that set the flat on fire later in the episode. Like, oh, there you go, Carla's burnt the toast. Typical
not only
Carla.
did she break the teacup, but she also managed to cut her hands. What the hell was she doing?
Yeah, I wondered about that, and there wasn't particularly any need for her to cut her hands. I wondered whether there'd be a little bit of LSD still lingering on the mug and it gets into her bloodstream through her finger or something, but they didn't go down that route.
I mean, we've both broken plenty of mugs in our time. We've never cut ourselves on them.
No.
Right, so Peter comes around to see if she's okay, and she's all upset. She can't even make a cup of tea. Maybe I should go to the doctors. And then somehow... Oh yeah, Stephen spies on the table her house keys, and he covers them up with a folder so they don't see them. And Peter takes Carla home. Never mind, they just leave all the bloody tissues. I'm not saying bloody tissues, literally tissues with blood.
I know.
Carla's blood all over the table, and he's like, "Oh well, I'll just clear this up then, shall I?"
She was having a bit of an episode, but you don't leave your bloody tissues all over the place.
Not at work.
No.
No. So Gaddis, they go to see Dr. Gaddis, and she says, "Well, I'm gonna have to refer you to do a psychiatric referral. But it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take months. But you could go private." And Carla's like, "No, no, no. Why should I get treated before anyone else?" And she's been very socialist about it for about 5 minutes, and then by the
Peter's
end
still
of the
got
episode,
this watch money that's burning a hole in his pocket, hasn't
taxi.
he? Very convenient.
Well, they also need to bear in mind they need the money to pay off the
legal fees.
And the other thing too is that not that long ago they were both acting like paupers, and now they've got their new flat set. They think they're rich.
Yeah.
Why are they living above the taxi company if they're that loaded?
Very. Well, that yeah.
It's a nice flat, but it really doesn't look like it belongs above the factory, the taxi firm. It looks like it belongs in Victoria Court.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Gaddis is like, okay, well, don't go to work anymore, and get back on your antipsychotic medication. So later on, Peter sees Stephen and tells him everything, and Carla's on her diazepam, and she's gone to sleep, having a nap, and he goes to the pharmacy to get some more medicine. Not before asking Roy to look after, just to check on her. Meanwhile, Stephen, who's got the keys from earlier, sneaks into the flat and looks at Carla while she's asleep. What does he get up to? We find out when Roy lets himself in and finds there's toast just burning. He's like, am I having a stroke? No, there's actually toast burning. Mm-hmm. So he quickly puts it out with a wet tea towel, and Carla comes out of the bedroom. I mean, she could have rescued herself then, couldn't she?
Yeah.
Also, smoke alarms not working. They need to sort that out.
Yeah.
Maybe... Yeah, why weren't the smoke alarms working?
Good
need
question.
to get that. I mean, I'm surprised that Roy didn't lecture her about that, really. So back at the factory, Stephen is talking to Sarah about Carla, and he's getting a bit worried about her, and it's like, oh, maybe we should make some changes around here. And Sean and Izzy are literally standing there with their mouths open listening to this while Sarah sends them off. Back at the flat, Carla's very confused because she doesn't remember putting the grill on, and Roy's like, well, don't worry, everything's fine. And she takes his hand, she's sad, she feels just devastated. When Peter comes back, Carla breaks down in tears. She realises that this has gone too far. She's a danger to them, she's a danger to herself. She really needs some help. Later on, Sean and Izzy come in and tell Stephen that everyone in the factory thinks that he and Sarah should run it from now on, and he's very touched. And then Sarah comes in, but he doesn't tell her about this for some reason. She probably finds out. She's going to find out.
It was odd that he was seeming to keep it from her when
he's now thinking, well, I'm in charge. How am I going to get rid of this idiot?
Yeah.
So, Stephen hang on. Peter and Carla get into a taxi to take her to a clinic, and she hugs Roy. It's very sweet. Lots of really sweet Carla and Roy scenes.
There was a really nice bit when Roy's there in the flat and she kind of reaches her hand out and he takes it. It's very sweet. So
they've obviously decided now that she's going to go private to sort this out because she's just not coping. And cut to Stephen sitting like the Lord, as you say, of the Underworld, at the head of the table with a light backlight behind him, drinking his neat whiskey or whatever it is, probably bourbon, and enjoying his sweet victory over Carla.
Yeah, good for him.
So I don't know how long Carla's out of the picture for now.
Oh no, I'm kind of hoping it's for a while.
I really think though, as soon as she gets to a clinic, she's just going to be tested. Because it's one thing, like your GP or A&E or whatever, not checking you to see if you've got LSD. But if you run a mental health facility, knowing that some people probably self-medicate or that mental health issues can be caused by or worsened by illegal drugs, you probably would test people just to see what's going on.
Yeah, the way they kind of had the shot done at the end of the episode, it did kind of feel like a say goodbye to Carla, we won't be seeing her for a little bit.
It really
didn't it?
did, yeah.
So that Stephen can get up to his little nefarious business deals in the factory uninterrupted. And I kind of hope for his sake, well, for our sakes as viewers, that is the case.
Sake,
yeah, for entertainment factor, because as fun as the LSD saga has been, it has
It
been
got
getting a
repetitive.
little bit repetitive. When Carla started having her episode on Wednesday's show, I was like, oh, okay, it's not going to top Stephen on drugs, though, is it? And it didn't. It just felt a little bit too samey. So I'm glad that she's gone, but there is still the issue of Rufus, isn't there? So it's not completely out of the picture. But yeah, Stephen's in charge of Underworld, and I don't know what he wants to do now.
Yes, he's got everything he wanted, hasn't he? But now he's got another problem because Rufus is targeting him, so he's going to have to get rid of Rufus. So Rufus is going to die.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, quite possibly. Elaine's breathing a sigh of relief at the moment.
When Rufus told him, you can't blackmail me because my wife and kids have left me, he unwittingly also told him, no one's going to miss me if you kill me for a while.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, of course he did.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
No, what do you mean?
What?
He didn't really say that to him.
Oh, okay.
But by saying that, he to a
he
murderer.
might have lots of friends. I'm sure he's a very popular person.
Very sociable, do you think? What?
Yeah.
So you really thought that you missed a scene where Rufus went, by the way, just in case.
Sometimes people say things like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess on Corrie they do.
I missed quite a bit of Wednesday's episode. To be fair, I was a little bit tired when we watched that episode. A bit grumpy as well.
Yeah, you really were.
Yeah. So
It's because you had a nap.
aren't they in a bit of a stalemate at the moment? No, Peter's not. So Stephen doesn't really have.
What do you mean?
Stephen can dob Rufus in for being a drugs dealer. Rufus can dob Stephen in.
No, it's not going to work like that.
So I think that there is
It's
a
not
complete
going to work.
stalemate.
Yeah, you do. But I don't think that Rufus and Stephen see it that way.
I'd just like it to go quiet for a little bit and see, well, what is Underworld like with Stephen
I think it's going to go from strength to strength, honestly.
How do you mean?
Because he's a good boss.
They can't keep up this
Let's not
pace of
forget-
murderings. They need to slow it down a bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, Stephen's run businesses. I don't know what happened to him and why he ended up in debt with Gabrielle and stuff. But he's run businesses for years. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he can use spreadsheets and everything.
He saw what Carla was doing. Some's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. My problem with it maybe is that with Carla going to this clinic, we've seen numerous times now, well, 3-4 times, that as soon as the effects of the LSD wear off, she is literally back to normal.
No, I think this.
So by the time they get her to the clinic, she's like, "Oh, I'm fine. Can I go home now?"
No, I think that the fear of a relapse is causing her anxiety.
Do you think she's like properly cracked now?
I don't say that, but I think that she's really at a bit of a dark time, and I think it's going to take a while for her to trust herself, which is really sad because obviously there's nothing actually wrong with her.
Well, one of the things that it says about LSD on the Frank website is that if you have mental health issues, it could make them worse. So maybe it has just triggered something a little bit more long term now. But I don't know. I wasn't necessarily getting what's the difference between this particular one and the ones we've seen before. But
what do you mean this one?
This breakdown
I don't know.
in the previous ones. But
well, because she thought she was fine, and this has come out of nowhere because she didn't feel stressed at all. If anything, I would be worried because I'd be thinking, well, I know what happened last time. But I guess maybe she must be thinking, well, I'm more worried about this accident.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not from that perspective. I guess it does feel like, yeah, I guess it's explainable why she's having this issue, but she's always lurching from disaster to disaster. So yeah, she's worried for that reason.
How did you find the Stephen creeping about in Carla's flat scene? Any anxiety that he might be bludgeoning her to death?
No. I was like, oh, is he gonna put more stuff in a glass or like put some LSD in something?
He doesn't want Peter to risk ingesting
I know, but
it though, does he?
I bet you she's got all kind of weird smoothies and things in the fridge.
Could stick it on a lipstick, couldn't they?
Could you? I don't know.
I don't know,
stare
maybe.
it into her Vaseline.
Yeah, you can put it in whatever drink in the flat you want, as long as you don't put it in the orange juice, because that seems to be what Peter lives on.
He could put it in all the alcohol.
Yeah, very true.
And then if Peter has it, it's his own fault, isn't it?
Yeah. I found that, But part of the problem, unfortunately, that I had is that I saw a picture before Friday's episode of Stephen sneaking about in Carla's flat, so I was prepared for it to happen. But it didn't feel like, Carla was in any immediate danger. It was a little bit like what I was saying with Justin and Daisy last week. Yes, there's the supposed threat there, but they felt pretty safe. It wasn't the time for anything bad to happen to her. And I don't know, maybe like the direction could have been a little bit more noir-y, or I don't know, it didn't quite do it for me. It did remind me, unfortunately, maybe not in a good way, of the Richard Hillman stuff, because there was that episode where he set fire to Audrey's house, didn't he? He left the gas on while Audrey was asleep, and she was being gaslit and everything like that. But it didn't have the same. Didn't work in quite the same way. I mean, Audrey was kind of on to Richard at that point. Carla's not suspicious of Stephen. The characters in that story were more enjoyable to me. So unfortunately, the comparison just doesn't work in this particular storyline's favour. But it was okay. But yeah, I'm kind of glad that Carla's out of the picture now, because she's just been a little bit miserable, hasn't she?
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see what it doesn't necessarily even. I mean, the storyline could go on pause for a little bit now, couldn't it? It's like Stephen's got what he wants. Let's park it for a little bit and get something else going on.
Let's get this nipper snapper order out.
Yeah. So okay, so let's move on to the Look Who's Stalking storyline then. And as I said, Monday's episode, absolutely fantastic there. But unfortunately, come Wednesday and Friday, it just felt like it was there to show its face and have a few things happen just to get up the episode counts.
Weren't you worried on Friday? I was on the edge of my seat.
What about?
Oh my God, Tracy can't be a bridesmaid.
Well, Monday certainly more than made up for any shortcomings that Wednesday and Friday had in this storyline, because this is where we ended up with Justin being arrested. And it starts off on Monday morning with Daisy not wanting to talk to Jenny about Daniel, the wedding. Remember, they had that big fallout this week, and Daisy's just like, she's still kind of processing it all. She just wants to stay in bed all day. Meanwhile, Daniel's back at number one, similarly maudlin with Adam, who's doing his best to reassure him that everything's going to be okay. You just need to be supportive to Daisy, Daniel. And Daniel's not been doing a brilliant job at that, has he?
No, not particularly.
Although, Ryan on Wednesday, he seems to be doing a bit more of a better job. Anyway, Daniel says, yeah, but I would have asked you to be the best man, Adam, and everything, so this is a bit rubbish. So, Ryan is kind of inserts himself into this storyline on Monday's episode, where he comes into the pub, lends a bit of a sympathetic ear to Daisy, and she just starts opening up to him, despite, they do mention on Wednesday's episode what happened between the two of them a couple of summers ago, didn't they? But she, it's a bit of bygones be bygones case here. And she says, look, I just want everyone to leave me alone about it. I don't need to be talking about all this. It's fine. So anyway, Daniel then shows up, apologises, and she accepts, and she says, yes, of course I want to marry you. So that was the shortest falling out ever.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, nearly. I mean, they had, I suppose, a weekend in between, didn't they? But anyway, she does want to marry him, but just not right away. Maybe they should postpone the wedding, get this Justin thing sorted first. Speak of the devil, Justin sees Daisy outside the shop later, and he's just come from his mum's funeral. I always keep forgetting that his mum's dead. Yeah. It's very, very handy to keep the plot moving along. Like, oh yeah.
It's outside Des, wasn't it?
Yeah, he comes round the corner, and he's like, oh, can you come with me to the wig?
To support me?
Every time, like, he's just completely oblivious to the fact. Is he like... He's just hoping that one of these times she'll be like, yeah, go on then.
No, I don't really know about the psychology of people who stalk. But I didn't realise, I don't know how realistic this is. I think they work with charities and stuff, and I don't know how much of this is fictional, added more excitement or whatever, but he just doesn't...
He just doesn't get it, does he?
He doesn't hear anything she says.
There are times when I think that he's properly scheming.
Yeah, because I always thought that the stalkers knew that they got off on making you miserable.
Screwing you up, yeah, but he literally just seems to be oblivious to the fact that she's not interested, and she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. How can I get you to listen?
And most of the times he does it. Like, is he pretending when he's acting stupid?
Well, sometimes he gets mad, doesn't he, when she's like, leave me alone. And this time, finally, this is when she's remembered, oh yeah,
I'm famous.
I'm famous on the internet. And she whips out her phone and starts live streaming him. It's like, go on, what do you want to say? And he gets all panicky here because the whole world is now going to know what a bit of a creep he is, including Jenny, who's there getting a notification on her phone in the pub, sees what's going on. She rushes out onto the street, and there's just like a gathering of characters kind of tangentially related to this storyline that are all there to support her. So Ryan was there, Yasmin was there, load of others, and Justin ends up being a little bit overwhelmed by this, gets into his car and drives off with Daisy like going as he heads off down the cobbles. And then we get a new character alert. Justin's sister, called Karen.
They all retreat to the pub, don't they?
Yeah.
And then this woman comes in.
This really kind of
with tear-stained face,
mousy-looking woman
wearing black.
Yeah, she's obviously just come back from the funeral as well, and she's like she's seen the video as well.
Do you think she follows Daisy?
Maybe she does.
She wants tips about
and
how
she's
to do
like,
makeup.
oh, I'm really sorry. This isn't the first time that Justin's done this. To you need to be just watch your backs. Really, he can be really dangerous when he gets obsessed with people. Yeah, you don't know what he's gonna do next. So I thought this was a nice little twist. I don't know whether he'd mentioned that he had a sister before, but I certainly wasn't expecting her to show up on Monday. And with her talking about this, and she goes into the back and says about how he would, he was a bit.
Well, when they were kids,
yeah.
He was wild, and he'd have tantrums.
Yeah, he'd have his screaming abdabs and everything, and there was another girl who Justin was obsessed with as well, and she ended up with a black eye after an argument in the park and all that kind of stuff. And this was what I needed, I think, to make me think, okay, so Justin really is capable of doing something a little bit dangerous now and violent, because even last week when I was complaining about him letting himself into number one and saying, I don't really feel fear for Daisy's safety, getting this extra story about he's done this in the past and been very violent, that this was just what I needed. It reminded me a little bit in a way of Carmel Finnan, the naughty nanny who went after Martin Platt in the early 90s, and then she got pushed down the stairs by Gail, and then it turned out that she had also had a history of obsessing over some guy over an island. I mean, that was the end of the storyline.
I'll just be offended. I'll be like, what? I thought it was special.
That was the end of the storyline when we find out that no, she's really got mental health issues, but this is helping to build to hopefully some climax.
I mean, this is where you're going to get people jumping in and going, oh, I see. Oh, so this woman, she was treated with kid gloves and everyone said she was mentally ill. But if a man does it, he's the villain. But, Carmel was also a villain, wasn't she?
Oh, gosh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
She definitely wasn't treated sympathetically.
No. But I really enjoyed this character. I don't know whether we're going to see her again. No, Karen.
I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, Karen. Karen the...
Right, yeah.
Karen the mousy Scot.
Maybe she'll turn up for Justin's funeral.
Yeah, so she just was brilliantly timid and scared, and her nervousness really rubbed off and made me feel nervous too.
Justin's also kind of nervy and timid-esque when he's not alone with Daisy.
Yeah, when he's there alone with her, he's got a little bit more confidence, hasn't he?
Because he thinks he can bully her.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he thinks that he can talk her around into marrying him or whatever. Right. So, anyway, Yasmin's chatting with Jenny.
Hang on. No. Justin said that this woman who had a black eye, it was an accident. Nobody could get out of her what actually happened. And then one of her mate's boyfriends ends up decking him, and then that's when it all stops.
Yeah. So that's all Justin needs. Somebody give him
but somebody
good
already
pop on the
decks him,
nose.
and then he turns up with a blimmin'
neck brace in court. Yeah, he's obviously learned that. Keep on going.
Yasmin.
When the chips are down. Yasmin is there to. Interesting to have her involved in it. I'm not expecting Yasmin to necessarily play a huge part in this, But she's like, I also had problems
sense.
with a man, and if anybody wants to include me in a good storyline that doesn't involve speed dial and money laundering and stew, I'd really like to be in this storyline, guys.
She goes, hey guys, I'm sick of Alia. Can I be in this story? They're like, no, you can't. You've got to go back.
I don't blame her. If I was Yasmin, I'd want to be in this storyline
I'd be
as
sick
well.
of it.
Clearly the better story. Anyway, so back at number 1 later, Daniel's telling Daisy that maybe we should take this information to the police now we know a little bit more about Justin. I would have thought that the police should already know this.
I don't know what the deal is, but Scotland and England, I would assume, have different...
I would have thought that they would share
I don't know that they would do. And also...
What else do you think Scotland Yard is for?
Also, they would have to have requested this information, and they wouldn't know to do that. I don't think they spend all their time just checking in with everybody else to see. I think that I do know from personal experience that some things are very separate between Scotland and England, and some things are just the same. So I'm just going to give them a break here and say the Scottish police are like, I don't know what you're talking about. We're not going to give you anything.
Okay, fine.
Go back to your own country.
Anyway, Daisy's like, I don't think the police are very good. I think, poor Jess again. Once again, we have a week where Jess, the only police officer that actually seemed to give a damn about Daisy, is nowhere to be seen.
Jess is like, look, here's my number, and they're like, not you. You're not helping us. We want a man.
Daisy's like, I need to sort this out myself, and Daniel's like, fine. What's the plan? So Daisy's plan is to meet with Justin in Victoria Gardens and act all kind of sorry. Says, I'm sorry about your mum and everything, but you need to listen to me now. Just 30 seconds of proper listening. Don't interrupt me. He can't manage it, can he?
At the beginning of every class?
No, that's what I should do at the beginning of every podcast.
Everybody.
But don't interrupt me, Gemma. Just let me talk for 30 seconds or so. And he's not able to manage it. She says, look, think you're just a bit confused, Justin. There is nothing between us. We are strangers. I've got a fiancé and I'm gonna marry. And he's like, no, you're lying. Then he starts to get suspicious about Daniel spying on them or that she's recording him or something like this. And he starts getting really jumpy and irate. And
am I allowed to say anything?
Yeah,
not?
Go for it.
He realises that she's putting on a bit of an act. Yeah. So he suspects that it's a setup.
Yeah, exactly. And she pushes him too far. She kind of like prods him in the chest, doesn't she? She's really poking the bear here. It could have gone really wrong for her.
Well, yeah, she does this because she sees Daniel and Craig coming.
Yeah, and she says, right, you're pathetic. And he calls her a bitch. And then it looks like he kind of looms over like he's going to give her a proper roughing up, doesn't it? But luckily...
She prods him, but then he shoves her back. And this is, I think this is a bit off here because Daniel and Craig conveniently didn't see her starting this. Do you not think? I mean, she poked him first. Yeah,
I suppose so. It was a bit.
He wouldn't have. I don't think he would have touched her if she hadn't have. Not that I'm on his side, obviously, but
I suppose
this was a setup.
Craig has been fairly useless in this, but I think he is on Daisy's side, and maybe he will turn a blind eye to this.
Should be impartial.
I know. But anyway, he comes over, arrests Justin. I loved this. I thought this was a fantastic scene. And they're all back at the Rovers later, and Daisy's like, yeah, it was a risky business, but it was a risk worth taking. Let's go for this wedding after all. The date we planned, couple of weeks' time, end of March. Don't want to back down anymore. And they end the episode with a big old smoocheroo. So I thought that was a fantastic setup for the week on this story, and yeah, the rest of the week was just a bit. It was more just like general wedding stuff, wasn't it? It was
couldn't give 2 weeks now.
Justin's not involved in this. He's not a danger anymore, or so they think. So let's just do some generic wedding stuff.
One thing I find quite interesting about this is that I know that all the Corrie ladies plan weddings to a certain extent. We do get to see, conversations they have and talking about the dress and stuff.
Mary and her giant folder.
Yeah, but I really think that Daisy is obviously one of the ones that we've seen the most preparation for. But interestingly enough, the other person I can think of who's also did a lot of prep was Jenny.
Did she?
Yeah, because she had
she
had
did,
the bridal
didn't she?
atelier in the factory, didn't she? There's a
Yes.
whole room. And I think
Yeah.
this is kind of funny and sweet that Daisy really takes after Jenny, even though they're not
in the
related.
wedding prep
but
stakes.
that they really love the idea of getting married, and they're really excited to have a fancy wedding. And I think that's kind of adorable that they're both.
It is.
In
They're both
way.
cut from the same cloth, aren't
Yeah.
they? So yeah, basically Wednesday's episode is about the venues and the companies and everything that had cancelled on Daisy after the whole incident with Justin the other week.
So what has she done? She just phoned him up and go, "Hi, you remember that guy that like told you that I was trouble?
Slapped him.
Well, guess what? He shoved me, so now he's been arrested." If you're listening to this on the other end of the phone, are you going to be like, "Oh, that's all right then"? Or would you go, "You both sound like..."
Thank goodness for this. We're gagging to sponsor you.
Wouldn't you be like, "You both
Take
sound
our
like
flowers.
trouble. I don't want anything to do with either of you"?
It depends whether like they saw her live stream and can see what he's like. It was quite convenient, but for me it was great because, like I said, I've been wanting for this wedding to be a big extravaganza. I didn't want it to just be it doesn't matter where we get married as long as we're together. I'd love this to be huge, and it's looking back like it's going back on again.
Wonder if a lot of them are going, well, what we've cancelled this bloody booking. Wedding people aren't looking for wedding venues and caterers and DJs and flowers 2 weeks in advance. How are we going to fill these bookings? And then she comes along and they're like, "Okay, right, fine, we'll do it again then."
Craig comes into the pub and says that Justin's been let out on bail, but he's definitely not allowed to stalk round you anymore. So he's at bay for the time being.
I see we're both on the same page with Justin now, are we?
Daisy's not happy with this, but I don't know, she can't do anything about it. And then we have a couple of nice scenes with Ryan, don't we? He sees that she's looking a bit sad out in the street later, and that he takes her over to Maxine's bench, and then for a coffee at Roy's, and they both just kind of talk about, what happened between us a couple of years ago. How are things between you and Alia? And he's like,
happened?
I've been friend zoned. Yeah,
honestly,
she's
the elephant
clearly
in the
not
room.
completely been forgiven by Ryan for getting between him and Alia. But anyway, it was quite a nice little character moment, a bit like Ken and the eagle hunting last week. And that's kind of it. The whole thing was that she was supposed to be going off to see the wedding venue, wasn't she, on Wednesday's episode, and she ends up spending the day with Ryan instead.
Which was weird. She was freaked out because she saw a delivery van and she thought it was Justin again, and she got so scared that she didn't want to go to the venue.
Yeah.
And she stayed with Ryan, which I don't know why Ryan suddenly appeared in this story.
Well,
and why they're
maybe the same
like...
readers as Yasmin. They're realising this is the hot new story for spring 2023. Get in there.
Right.
So Friday's episode, the photo booth's back on again, but what are we going to do about the flowers?
It made me laugh because she goes to Daniel, "I've just spoken to the photo booth people and now we've got everything we need for the perfect wedding. I set weddings." It's like, well, really, was a photo booth like... Was that the essential wedding package?
Well, for Daisy it probably is, isn't it?
We've been to weddings with photo booths. They're really good fun.
Yeah, they can be. But you do need your flowers.
Yeah, you need flowers, really.
They realise they're going to need to go to Plan B, and that Plan B is Barlow's. So Daisy goes over to Preston's and's like, "Oh, yeah, I kind of want you to do my wedding flowers after all." And Tracy's like, "Oh, really? Well, what are you going to... As long as I can be bridesmaid, because I'm not taking flipping social media promotion as payment anymore, thank you very much." And Daisy's like, "Oh, I don't really want you to be my bridesmaid." So the rest of the episode is just her thinking, how am I going to get out of this? I don't want Daisy to do this. We're going to have to not have her flowers anymore. But luckily for her, and quite conveniently, the original florist gets back to her later and says, "Yeah, you can have our flowers." And Daisy's like, "Fantastic! Now at least we don't have to have that cow Tracy messing things up on the day as a bridesmaid." But Daniel, who is quite controlling,
he's very contrary as well. One minute he's like, Daisy said at one point that if Tracy was on fire, she'd still go to the Rovers for a wee, rather than putting it out. And I think Daniel feels the same way about Tracy half the time. But for some reason, it's super important that he condescends to Daisy and guilt trips her into making Tracy a bridesmaid anyway.
Yeah. Well, it turns out at the end of the day that the punchline to all of this is that Tracy has got absolutely no desire to be Daisy's bridesmaid, and she was just winding her up, which was very Tracy. Oh, how do I get
they're
those
both
two?
the same. Well,
they are both. Yeah, they're both very similar, aren't
I mean,
they? They're two sides
Daisy's
of the same
just not
coin.
murdered anybody yet.
Yeah, that's basically the only
But
difference.
if Daniel crosses her, I wouldn't be surprised if she did cock him on the
Well,
head.
I quite appreciated how Daisy, kind of the departing shot of this story was them kind of realising, yeah, we're not so different. That's the sort of thing that I would have done. I would have tried to wind you up and screw you up with making you think one thing. But
they didn't quite skip hand in hand down the road, did they? They just kind of both agreed that...
Yeah, they shake hands and like... Yeah, we're going to be all right. We're going to be related and sisters in scheming. But yeah, I did think that when Tracy was so adamant that she wanted to be a bridesmaid, I thought that was a bit odd. I didn't think that she was tricking her. I thought, they just kind of twisted the script this way to add a little bit of drama. But when Tracy's like, no, why not? I thought I want to be your bridesmaid. It's like, yeah, very good point. Because...
I don't think I'd want to be a bridesmaid in the same wedding as my daughter.
Oh,
being
no.
a bridesmaid. I think that'd just be odd.
I don't know whether there are any other bridesmaids, but I think Tracy's a bit old to be a bridesmaid.
Well, that's not... Yeah, mate, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I wouldn't, unless your daughter's a flower girl, I just think... Yeah. But every time we say anything, we always offend about 5 people who... going to write in and go, well, I was a bridesmaid and I'm 75. Right,
it was just nice to give Tracy something to do. She's been so quiet for
It's more
years.
like to me that I just don't think Tracy gives a crap about girly bridesmaid nonsense.
No, not at all.
I don't really care how old you are.
I mean, I think if she thinks if it's her own wedding, she wants the works.
Yeah.
But she's not interested in
anyone else's
in
nonsense.
not being number one at somebody else's wedding.
Yeah, that's true. I really liked how Daniel guilt tripped her, and she's like, he says, well, I know that she's not doing the flowers anymore, but obviously she really feels like she wants to be part of the wedding. She doesn't want to be left out, and it's up to you, and I know you're going to make the right decision. And she's like, oh, for God's sake, Daniel. He's really manipulative, and the thing that annoys me is that he's so smug about it, and the show doesn't really seem to want you to judge, like... Sometimes people are like that, and you're invited to laugh at them for how condescending they are. But with Daniel, it kind of made Daisy look like a cow.
I know.
But really,
how does he do it?
He's the cow. Why doesn't he have her as a groomsman if he wants Tracy to be involved? She'd much rather wear a suit, probably.
Well, I wonder whether they're going to go down that route a little bit now that they've got Ryan involved. And is Daisy going to kind of realise that
Daniel's an arse?
Yeah, and that Ryan's just kind of a bit simpler and nicer, and...
Well...
I hope not, because I at the end of the day, I do really, really like Daisy and Daniel together, but it wouldn't surprise me if her head was turned a little bit.
The fact that they had this long conversation made me think, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, they didn't need to do that. There's got to be some kind of hidden meaning in there.
I don't know why, and I also don't really know why Ryan is giving her the time of day.
I wonder whether it's going to be one of these, she's going to have a pre-wedding wobble, and she's maybe going to turn to Ryan for support and a listening ear, and he's going to be the one to convince her, no, you really should marry Daniel, and maybe that's all it's going to be. I'm not really sure. Anyway. I don't know. So I've talked a lot about how much I enjoyed Monday's episode. Could you kind of feel the same way about the whole arrest situation?
Yeah. Yeah.
And anything else?
Like I said, I think it was a bit of a... It's one of those things where you think it could have been written in a completely different way, and she would have got in trouble because she lured him there and then she pushed him. Then he got arrested for pushing her back. I mean, it's not really fair, is it?
I think that the direction really did help. If I compare it to Stephen sneaking around Carla's flat, where I just didn't quite feel the tension.
Yeah.
This I really, really did, and I'm not good enough at camera techniques and all that kind of stuff to be able to say exactly what it was. But yeah, this I really did feel that. Yeah, it was a tense situation.
It was tense. It was good.
And there's still the lingering danger of Justin being out there on the run. I mean,
he's not on the run. He's on bail.
Sorry, not on the run. Oh yeah, it's out free. I mean, it is
It's not free. He's on bail.
Free enough. Free to do a bit of meddling.
See, you'd be terrible as a judge. You'd be like, right, you're very naughty, but I will let you go on the run. No, that's not what I mean. Go and do some mischief. No, you're not allowed to do that either. Okay, go free. No, hang on. It's not that one either. It's one of the other ones. It's in between.
I mean, if you were to follow the trajectory of other Coronation Street villains in the past, and it feels like the story is getting close to running its course. You do often have the villains disappear for a little bit before their last hurrah, and with a wedding on the horizon, I mean, it's not, you'd think maybe Justin's going to cause a little bit of an upset at the wedding, perhaps.
Well, it just depends on whether they order any deliveries.
Yeah, that's a good. They probably will do, won't they?
They will turn up with a big box of white doves.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I don't know whether we're going to get any of this story next week. We're now like a week and a bit away for the wedding. It feels like I don't really need to see any of the run up to it, but maybe we will. So, Faye's face-to-face, Gemma, with Miley. Lovely Canadian I think, I'd like to see the faces of everybody watching Coronation Street on Monday when Miley opens her mouth and we go, huh? Oh, yeah. I wasn't expecting her to sound like that at all, but why wouldn't she sound like that, of course? I mean, we're all used to Bethany Platt coming from growing up in Milan with a really thick northern accent, aren't we? So, you'd be forgiven for thinking that maybe Miley is also going to sound broadly Lancastrian, but no, she's got a full-on Canuck accent there, hasn't she?
I mean, it made me laugh a little bit because so she turns up with Jackson, the father.
Giant Jackson.
And I don't know why I expected this, but I almost would have thought that Miley turns up going, "Hi everyone, I'm from Canada," and he goes, "Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. I didn't teach you how to talk proper, like."
Yeah. I thought you put a tweet out on Monday night, didn't you, of Stephen looking down at his phone, looking a bit miffed, and the caption was like, "When you realise you're not the only Canadian in Corrie anymore,"
this
or
isn't
something.
fair. Interestingly, she was born on the 1st of April. So her birthday's coming up.
Oh, okay.
And I just looked into it, and she was born on the 1st of April 2015, and Wrecking Ball came out in 2013. So
this is post Wrecking Ball.
So Faye really stitched her up, didn't she?
Well, I mean, it was because she did come. Maybe it was a link to it, because Faye didn't want this kid, did she? And it did kind of wreck her life a little bit. So maybe it was for that. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch. But I just can't believe that story where Faye was pregnant was so long ago.
It was, yeah.
8 years. It feels like only yesterday. But anyway. So what's been going on with Faye and Miley this week then? Jiminy Jim Jom Jam.
I'm still just trying to work. I'm still just checking to see if there's anything about why she's called Miley.
I don't think it really matters.
It don't really. It really matters to me at this moment. But I will move on.
Okay.
Just for you, listener.
So it's Faye's birthday, isn't it?
It's Faye's birthday. See, this is the thing. Maybe this is how I would feel if I was Faye. I'd say, I want to get rid of this kid because she's going to cramp my style, because birthdays are too close together. I want to not worry about someone else's birthday when I'm having my birthday.
Yeah, that's a good point. You'd be spending your birthday party going, "Oh God, yeah, about time I bought my daughter a birthday present.
God, what are we going to do?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I can't afford to do anything nice for my birthday because my bloody kid's having one." Selfish.
Get my birthday money. I know what I'm spending that on.
What do you want, Miley? You parasite. Right, anyway, Monday, she's having a lovely birthday breakfast in the cafe, and then they're going to a spa, aren't they?
Yes.
But Tim, simple-minded Tim, has a plan that, of course, will never go wrong, to have Jackson and Miley round.
Yeah, he just wants to be a little doting
Because
granddad, doesn't he?
He knows that they're not going to be in. So Sally's like, this is a bad idea. And Tim's like, no way, can't go wrong. It's worth it anyway. So then the kids come round with Jackson. Hi, everyone. It's me. I've been to stage school in Canada. I agree. I have to say,
sweet,
she is really adorable. I think she's very cute, but she does look a bit like she just came off stage going, it's a hard knock life for me.
I mean, if you I can't remember what the actress who plays Miley, but she's got an awful lot of dance competitions and stuff like.
Got charisma,
multi-talented,
charisma coming left, right, and centre.
Yeah, she does.
Faye is like next to her. She's like, I cannot believe that this girl
you spawned
come
from me.
What has happened here?
She doesn't look dissimilar to her. To be fair, though,
No.
I think it's a pretty good casting there.
I mean, obviously Miley looks slightly different from the last time we saw her, but also Jackson does as well, because the last time we saw Jackson, he was a scrawny little teenager.
He's been just raising her in a pot of compost, I think. I think that's been there.
Both of them.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Because he's supposed to be, 21, 22 odd. He looks like he's
30.
in his 30s. She's supposed to be coming on 8. I don't think so.
I'm fairly sure the
not
actress
think-
is a similar age. I was convinced that she might be a lot older than that, but we have
done a bit of digging on her Instagram.
I'm gonna let it slide because I'm fairly sure that she is in the ballpark.
She is in the ballpark. I'm gonna say that the actress playing her is 9 or 10.
I've got no idea how old she is. We do not know how old she is. But the other thing,
She hasn't got a convenient birthday picture of her on her Instagram, so we can't tell.
The other thing is that children sometimes have growth spurts. So, they all seem to have growth spurts.
I think it is also to do with the fact that it felt like the Faye being pregnant storyline felt like a few years ago. But no, actually,
I just imagine Jackson and Miley just like bouncing around the great northern Canadian maple forests, like glomming onto the bark of trees and just sucking maple syrup out of the trunks and leaving like husks of trees in their wake.
Does it make you grow, does it?
Yeah,
I need to go over
that's why they're
there
all
myself,
lumberjacks, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why Nick came back a lot taller.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, that's what they do over there.
Yeah,
You guys know, you're all Canadian.
the secret to eternal youth and beauty.
Be Canadian.
And sucking on redwoods.
Yeah, is that where you think maple syrup comes from, darling? We're showing a lot of insider knowledge here about Canada. I bet they're really deeply scared about how much we know.
Like the secret of
Like
maple syrup is safe.
They know too much. Right, Jackson's.
We have 2 types of tree in our country, and you got the wrong one.
Jackson and Miley are there, and Jackson's like, "Oh, I was a bit nervous about coming round with Faye not being there." And Miley's been told that Faye's on holiday. And it's a bit weird that Jackson's brought Miley round to what is basically just a random man's house. Wouldn't you, if you were Jackson, would be like, can I meet you first? You could just be a random old pervert.
But he never Jackson had. I mean, he did go and visit Tim last week, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he?
Doorstep,
All right, I'll
didn't
give
he?
him.
Meeting too.
I know, but still, just you can meet perverts several times and not realise. Just saying. Anyway, so Miley's like, do I remind you of my mom when she was my age? And Tim's like, I don't know because I wasn't there.
I think Miley has smiled more times in just this 2 scenes than Faye has in the 10 years that she's been on Coronation Street, to be honest.
She was named well, but isn't she? Because she is Smiley.
Yes.
So they leave, they have a nice time, they leave, and Miley gets talking with Eliza, who saw at Affleck's.
Okay, Eliza, where's she come out of? Is she...
Eliza and Stu, they're like, oh, Stu's like, can I be in it for 1 episode, please?
Stu's been like very absent for 6 months at least, hasn't he? Yeah. He was very, I was getting a bit sick of Stu last year with the whole Stu Lucy murder storyline.
I thought that was going to be different.
But
Anyway.
Yasmin has still been fairly consistently on the show, it feels like, hasn't she? But Stu's just not been in any
Stu's
scenes.
been doing the school run.
And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there were a lot of Coronation Street fans watching on Monday's episode going, who is this little girl that's walking around with Stu? But I enjoyed Eliza from before. It's just odd that they brought her in, said, right, you're going to live with Yasmin and Stu. Look at this new life and this new...
And it's 2 weeks of drama.
Turn
and
the
then
corner
never see you
and
again.
a new chapter in the life of Stu and Yasmin. Now they have got a young girl who goes to Catholic school to look after. Nope, we're not going to do that story.
Anyway, Eliza and Miley are nattering, but then, oh no, Craig and Faye are back. He sees, Tim
Faye
sees
got
them
sick.
in the car coming out, and so Tim's like trying to herd Miley and Jackson inside and out the back through the conservatory. And Jackson's like, can you ask Faye again if she wants to see? Because he knows that Faye doesn't want to see Miley, but Miley doesn't know. So there, he's trying to usher them out, and they get away with it until Stu comes to the door, like, hey,
Yeah, I've got a bracelet like
it's a bracelet that, well.
we can't do that accent, can we?
I tried. He comes to the door, he's like, oh, here's Miley's bracelet. And Faye's answered the door and she's like, wow, what is this? Huh? You've been seeing my daughter behind my back. And Tim says, you need to get to know her. She's actually really adorable. And she says, no, I don't want to. So on Wednesday, Faye's still in a huff because she blames Sally as well. She goes home, she has to go at Craig for talking to Tim because she's in a huff with Tim. And Tim says, you're going to regret it if you do not take this opportunity of connecting with Miley. And then Craig talks to Faye and says, you need to be careful not to make a decision that you're going to regret. So Faye goes to see Tim and says, I'm really scared about this. I don't know how I'm going to feel. I don't want to get close to Miley and then I fall in love with her and then I have to go back to Canada. It could all go wrong. And Tim says it's a risk worth taking, and I reckon that...
I realise that at least 3 times in my notes for this episode, characters have said it's a risk worth taking. Daisy prodding Justin is a risk worth taking. Tim meeting Miley himself is a risk worth taking.
Well, it is. And he says, you do want to meet her, don't you? And Faye's like, yeah, I do. Just like all the other women on the show, I was only pretending when I said I didn't want kids.
I know. That could have been, nice little change, couldn't it?
The thing is, though, she does have a kid. So... that horse is bolted. I can understand her. We've already had women like Christine. We just literally had a woman who was talked to her daughter and said, "Look, I don't actually like being a mum, but you're all right, and we're adults. Maybe we can have a relationship."
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe Faye was just as versed to the whole nappy changing phase and everything.
She's got away with it,
exactly. She's rolled past that.
Oh, well, I wonder if she's been paying child support all this time. She should have done.
Yeah.
Right, so Tim's like, good for you. On Friday, Faye's like, it's kind of sweet because she's all nervous and she's like, oh, am I wearing the right outfit? And to be fair, she should have changed because that was awful.
Yeah, you said that was not a very flattering jumper that Faye's got.
No, that was what she changed into.
Yeah, no, I know.
No, what she was wearing first was worse.
Oh, was it?
Just this weird shiny jacket. It looked like a bit of like Rita's bin bag. So she wants to make a good impression. And then later on, she's like, oh my God, what if they're late? I'm going to cancel. I don't want to do it anymore. And then they come to the door and it's too late. But they sit awkwardly together on the sofa, don't they? And,
Eliza's like, I know, Faye says, here's a bracelet.
Eliza's not there.
I know. Faye says, here's the bracelet. And Miley says, you can have the bracelet.
Well, hang on. They're sitting there awkwardly. And bless her, Faye... not the most exciting character, is she?
No.
So if I'm Miley, I'm thinking, is this my mom? She's so boring. and Faye's just like, I'm so intimidated by this 8-year-old girl. So then they look at some photos. It breaks the ice a little bit. Later on, they've had a lovely afternoon. And Faye is Faye's like, oh, Jackson, you're so good with her. And Jackson says, oh, you're so good with her as well. And they have a bracelet talk.
It didn't really break any new grounds there. So it was a fairly much they have a meeting and it goes okay. And now maybe Faye quite likes this girl.
I mean, I'm not worried at the moment because Jackson isn't a young mother. But if the genders were reversed, I'd be looking for him to have a car crash any minute.
Oh yeah, good point. That's going to be the problem, isn't it? At the end, Miley's going to go back to Canada, presumably,
well, here's the question.
Faye's going to say, "Oh no, I kind of want to go too."
Is Faye going to go with her, or is Miley going to stay with Faye?
I don't really need Miley to stay.
I think she's great.
I think she's great.
She's really cute.
We don't need another kid.
On
Coronation Street. They can't even do anything with Eliza.
I'm just going to imagine her as a stage school girl who's broken out of the set of Matilda or... No, not Matilda, they're too English. What's an American...
What, Annie?
Yeah, she's just broken off the stage of Annie. She's a fictional actress, and she just found herself in Coronation Street. And she's going to spend the whole time being like, don't you guys have a budget for like a chorus line or something? They're like, no, we don't do that here.
I really did enjoy her, but I don't think she needs to stay on the programme particularly.
Tomorrow,
she does the job.
I love you.
I did see somebody theorising online, like, could this be the end of Faye? Because Ellie Leach has just put a load of new headshots on Instagram just recently, and isn't that the kind of thing that you do when you're saying, hello, I need a new job, I need a new role? I don't know. I mean, Faye, I was always, for a very long time, the biggest Faye defender, but she's not been used very much at all for years now, and I think sadly the character really is very, very redundant.
She's also such a drag.
She is a bit,
and I'm not talking about any medical stuff, but that really doesn't help either.
No.
She's.
I think
she
it'd
barely ever cracks a smile.
Yeah, she's got.
I mean, she's had a really hard life. She's had lots of horrible things have happened to her, and I'm not surprised that she's, a bit of a downer. But she's not fun to watch her.
She's not. She's a bit too old to be in the teen gang, isn't she? So her links on the show. No, she hasn't. She's got Craig.
Yeah,
she's got Gary. Mum Anna's is away. She's got Tim. She's got quite a few links, actually.
Well, she's got loads of links, but it's not the same as having a gang of friends, is it?
It just feels like if she, popped out of existence, it'd take a while to notice. Yeah. Unfortunately, and because I did really, really like Faye, they've just very much squandered her. They chucked her in prison for 8 months or so, was it, last year or the year before? And they just don't seem to know what to do with her. And I don't think that anybody's loving the Faye and Craig partnership. So I think, honestly, it could be for the best. That she could have a really nice ending if they decide, well, let's ship her off to Canada and she can go live happily ever after with Miley and Jackson.
She can go bounding through the great redwood forests of Canada,
sucking the maple syrup out of the trees.
And just to be clear, I do know that's not what happened. Maple syrup, I know that you can't just suck it out of a tree. That would be stupid. You've got to put it in a bucket first.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any hint of, romantic spark or anything between Miley and Jackson, was there, today?
No, because that's her dad.
Getting all the words wrong. Faye and Jackson.
I'm sorry, but Faye and Jackson look like they've been made in two completely different human factories.
Yeah.
Do you not think they don't look at all like they would ever go anywhere near each other? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe that's going to be the twist. Maybe it's going to turn out that Jackson's not actually the father after all.
Maybe he's an alien. Maybe he's got alien hand syndrome.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it'd be a nice little ending if she's like, you know what, I'm going. But it would mean that Craig is just left miserable again. Unless Craig also goes, but then who would keep the streets of Weatherfield safe if Officer Tinker's not on the beat?
Were we not all thrilled to have OCD get another shout out this week?
Oh yes.
I can't believe they brought this back up again.
They mentioned the OCD.
Because they really crapped the bed with this OCD storyline, because we know from talking to people how debilitating it is. But Faye was like, Beth was like, oh yeah, it's under control now, really. Oh, okay, is it? Right, great. Thank you, great.
The way
yeah,
it became under control is the storyline just came to an end,
everyone
and then
got bored
nobody
of
mentioned it again.
And everyone forgot.
Yeah.
They should literally have just never mentioned it again and pretended that never happened.
It was
because that's not how it works.
No, but yeah. Nice when they do callbacks, but maybe not so much that one. Okay, so speaking of tinkers, I'm onto the Marco YOLO storyline now with Beth. Beth was just lovely on Monday, wasn't she?
Beth needs to ditch Kirk.
She totally needs to ditch
She's
Kirk.
never been happier.
No, the problem is I'm a little bit torn with this one, because on the one hand I'm saying, yes, you are totally suited to Marco. You were having a wonderful time with him. Kick that Kirk to the curb. But on the other hand, I'm seeing her sneaking around, being all, I'm going to have a sneaky text with him and everything, going, what you doing? You're married, kind of, to Kirk. Don't do that, girl. So I don't, my heart's being torn one way or another, but it really did. They had great chemistry. They really, really did. And Beth and Kirk, to me, have never really felt that way. They don't feel necessarily suited. See, I think with Beth, when she came into the show, she was like Big Mama Bear to Craig, wasn't she? And she still got her C necklace, hasn't she? And she just needs somebody to mother.
Yeah.
And I think in sort of little simple Kirk, she's got a grown-up kid who's never going to outgrow his,
mothering
infancy that he's currently in. So, in the way that she's kind of suited to him, but it just doesn't fit right. And with Marco, it felt like she could have a proper grown-up relationship with this guy. It's not going to happen, is it? She's not going to go off with Marco, clearly.
Maybe.
But everything that happened on Monday really made me think they shouldn't, chuck the idea away. So
I also really liked the Glenda getting herself involved in this storyline.
Yes, yeah, giving Glenda something to do other than just dispensing wisdom behind the bar. I thought that was great. So Beth's all dressed up all fancy on Monday for this date, not a date, with Marco, and yeah, she's there in her best kind of rockabilly gear, isn't she? That that Lisa George, she likes all that kind of stuff. So she looked ace, and she pretends that she's going to go off to see Arlene, her sister. But Glenda, this is when Glenda does her chinny reckon.
Yeah.
See,
chinny reckon.
So they did have to explain this in the programme, and the only reason I knew about it was I've done research into this before.
Did you?
Well, yes, because chinny reckon was not a thing when I was little, and it wasn't for you, was it?
No, we had itchy chin.
Itchy chin. So, when we were young, not that long ago, if you didn't believe somebody, and we were like completely opposite ends of the country.
No, we weren't.
I was in the middle and you were in the bottom. It was itchy chin.
You put your tongue between your bottom teeth and your lip to kind of make a big fat lip, and then you stick your chin out like Bruce Willis, and you go itchy chin and scratch your chin.
That means you don't believe them by saying itchy chin.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Balderdash, sir.
Although I've told you this one as well. We said sometimes itchy chin, but we didn't necessarily make an itching gesture. It was more like I'm going to stroke my long beard.
Massive, what's it?
Yeah, like Pai Mei. Kill Bill beard.
We never did that. We went,
Yeah, so itchy chin was what we said. But when I was doing a bit of research for some reason about this years ago, I read that chinny reckon was what people said in other bits of the country.
Chinny
Reckon. Yeah,
Why are you saying it like I reckon?
Because it is hyphenated, reckon. But
what?
Anyway, you look it up yourself.
Sorry, hang on.
Yeah. Chinny reckon, I reckon you're lying.
Yeah.
But apparently people used to say it in two really distinct syllables.
Oh,
but it's
so
all
it
named
still
after.
Means reckon.
Yeah. But it was named. But that said that it was named after Jimmy Hill, the famous sports pundit with the big chin.
Really?
Anyway, we're going way off topic, but if anybody wants to know
reckon.
about Chinny Reckon, look into it. It's quite interesting. But yeah, itchy chin for us.
So if you look this up on Urban Dictionary, it says to express indignant disbelief at another's fanciful proclamation.
It was.
Typically accompanied by the stroking of a non-existent goatee beard.
See, it's a stroking of a beard.
For some reason, reckon is pronounced recon.
I knew it.
Rather than the usual reckon.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that...
And sometimes we go would you go chinny chin chin or something?
No.
No.
That would not in the Midlands. I think that Tyrone might have done an itchy chin at some point. I've got a feeling that they might have put that in the script. But anyway, well done, Glenda. You took me right back to my childhood. Anyway, that was a massive digression. A bit of culture for you there.
There you go. Don't say we don't ever tell you anything important.
Yeah.
Use it in a sentence this week. Like, did you know you can get maple syrup from redwood trees? Chinny reckon.
Itchy chin. I really enjoyed Coronation Street this week. I think I might give it a 5 out of 5. Itchy chin. Right, anyway, Glenda is on to Beth, and she knows that she doesn't just go dressing up like that to see a chappy sister. So Beth kind of admits to Glenda later, yeah, I'm off to see Marco. I'm a little bit worried about him because he's got one of her vinyls, hasn't she? And of course they make the jokes about the 12-inch, ha ha ha. So she goes to the bistro, gets a big squeeze and a hug from hunky Marco. And you kind of pointed out that the Facebook photo that they used of him last week was a bit like younger and hunkier than the actual Marco that they used. But I don't
remember if I was remembering it wrong or not, but
he wasn't. He's still.
He looked like a normal bloke.
He looked like a normal, good-looking kind of beefy
lad,
didn't he?
Like he looked like a sort of football lad.
Yeah. A really good match for Beth, I have to say. They look good together. And so they get a big hug, and Glenda's there telling Ryan to keep an eye on them. And Ryan's like, I'm already in another storyline at the moment, and I'll do my best. Do my best, yeah. So they just have a great old time, really. And Marco hands over his 12-inch, and he talks about getting married and divorced over in New Zealand. That's right, I'm back on the market. And by the time they tumble out the bistro later, it's dark. Oh, this is where Stephen sees Beth, isn't it?
Yeah, that was weird.
Because he's been doing his dodgy dealings with Rufus round the back of Underworld, and he kind of stares over at Beth like, you're going to be my next victim.
Yeah, it was
my
weird.
Next random act of violence.
I don't know what was happening there.
No, not sure.
Nothing came of it.
Like Batman there.
And we also get from the scene that she's told Marco about Kirky.
Yes, yeah. And
so it's not like she's pretending she's single.
No, exactly.
One thing I like also about this is the way that Beth says Marco. Because she goes Marco. Like she really... Marco. Like, she really kind of loves that he's called Marco.
So he's like, oh, can we still meet up again? And she says, oh yeah, definitely. So she goes to the shop, and she gets a message from Marco with a photo of the two of them saying he had a great time and everything. I mean, surely this photo is going to come and bite her in the bum at some point. Kirk's going to find out about this, and he's not going to be happy.
Kirk's already had a strop.
Well, yeah. I mean, they had a big falling out, and then they got back together. They are back together again, aren't they, Beth and Kirk? But he's going to be like, oh, Beth, I thought I trusted you, and this is... Anyway, so Wednesday's episode, Beth is in complete denial about fancying Marco when Glenda's trying to dig for the details about what happened at this bistro meeting. I mean, the reason... maybe not the best idea to go... whining and dining your exes in the local bistro where pretty much at least one other main character's family is going to be dining there at any 1 minute.
Kirk obviously was left to his own devices.
Well, no, Kirk was in Southampton, wasn't he?
Oh, that's right.
He was visiting us, yeah. He's been driving his van to flog knickers around the world from our docks, apparently.
4 hours and 37 minutes.
Something like that, yeah. I do like it when they have a good Southampton reference.
I bet he'd weed in a bottle.
Yeah, no stopping.
I do like it when he
for Kirk.
When he
it's not like
they put
completely
it in for us.
Rare that they mention Southampton.
It's a very prominent.
I'm gonna say, if
destination.
If somebody from Coronation Street is going to a far away spot,
like, where's the
that's
furthest,
not London.
Where's the stupidest place that anyone would go?
Before.
Southampton.
Ken was just there the other year, meeting his teacher friend, wasn't he? And I'm pretty sure that Kirk's driven there before in his Underworld van too.
I think the thing about it, unlike Northampton, is that it's very descriptive of where it is.
Dan sad.
So you know exactly where somebody's saying, like, where could that possibly be? Even if you're from the great redwood wastelands of Canada, Southampton's probably down south.
So anyway, so he's out the picture, but he's back by the midway through Wednesday's episode, reminiscing with Fizz over that one scene ages ago when he proposed to her by rapping the real Slim Shady, which was a nice reference for a certain amount of fans. I'm going to say a good 50% of people watching are like, I have no memory of this scene, because although it was fun at the time, I don't think that scene has gone down in kind of clip show gold, has it? But it was fun. It was fun. So Beth's not happy, despite the fact that she's been moonlighting with Marco.
It's projection.
Yeah,
you see.
She's like, I can't. Don't you keep your hands off my Kirky, Fizz. And they're just like, this is fairly boring. They talk about their exes, and Beth clearly isn't happy with the idea that Kirk has got some exes living around there, even though she's got Steve and everything. And she says, I need to trust you. Then he says, oh yeah, like I trust you, Beth. Because obviously he can't trust
Marco.
her. Blah, 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 blah.
Marco.
So, yeah, so she's looking at text from Marco later, and somebody, I've written Beth here.
Wasn't Beth.
No, somebody tells Kirk that maybe he should make an officially honest woman of Beth.
After that old bigamist thing.
Yeah, and there was a few kind of raking things up from the past here. This is what happens when you have a couple like Beth and Kirk who go months and months without having anything together. Then, like, anytime they bring out a reference, it's like, no, I'm not going to remember that.
Well, that's why she brought out a memory box.
That's very true. Beth and Kirk did get married in a fabulous 80s wedding about 5, 6, 7 years or so ago. But then it turned out randomly that she was actually still married to her ex, Daryl. And then everything just went quiet, and we were left to wonder,
she got in trouble.
Did they get back married again?
No.
But no, it turns out they didn't. Because I think it was just assumed that they kind of did on the quiet, but you don't see it on the telly. It didn't happen.
Unless they tell you later.
Yeah. So at the end of the episode, towards the end of the episode, Glenda catches Beth messaging Marco around the back of the pub again, and Beth is insistent that she is indeed still in love with Kirk, and Glenda says, you need to be careful. And Beth probably says something like, it was a risk worth taking.
No, she tells Glenda to keep her nose out.
Yes, she does. So and
Glenda says, oh, chinny reckon.
Yeah. So I think that I think we are going to probably see Marco again. It feels like, the thing with this is Beth and Kirk don't seem like a couple that are ever going to split up.
No, I agree.
Because it's like, who else would have them?
Yeah, exactly.
Marco. Know? Well, yeah, Marco would have Beth,
I
don't think Marco is a permanent character.
Kirk is like one of these destructive, what are they called? Particles. Idiots. That has to be contained. Like a nuclear waste that has to be put into a special barrel, otherwise it'll be bouncing around giving everybody bone cancer.
I mean, Kirk's last two ladies, Beth and Julie, weren't they both kind of brought in to be a partner for Kirk? I can't remember how long Beth was in the programme before.
It makes it sound like Kirk's like a stud or like a zoo that needs to be mated to continue the species of Kirk.
No, it was just kind of a case of,
I know what you mean,
clearly
though.
Nobody else there would have him, so we need to invent a new character that would. But I never really bought Julie or Beth for them.
No, I agree with you, but anyone who's started watching the show recently would find that very difficult to believe, because Kirk's such a minor character. The idea that two separate other characters could have been brought in just to be his dates just sounds totally unlikely.
I thought that Kirk and Fizz Fizz was his best other half. She felt like, back in the day, she felt like she did belong with him.
Yeah, I agree.
But
no, she's grown up.
Yeah. So I don't think that him and Beth are going to split up permanently, but I do suspect that
there will be a dalliance.
A split is on the cards here, and Beth will kind of have a grump and go, oh, Kirky.
Oh, Kirky, why are you being so mean to me? Oh, Beth, why did you break my heart?
Beth, you are being really, really stupid.
Yeah.
Really, don't do
But the thing is, though, miserable Kirk is so unappealing.
I hate miserable Kirk.
And he's
like droopy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just really, it's just a miserable, he's like Chesney, turns into like a big Chesney. Where it's like, you're just a waste of my time. You're just sucking the energy out of me. I don't care that you're sad. I barely care when you're happy.
Can you just imagine a scene of Kirk and Chesney getting drunk and maudlin in the pub together? You know that brilliant scene with Beth and Raquel after Charlie's just left Beth and Raquel's there. Like that classic scene. Now swap the characters out for Kirk and Chesney, and it's like not so classic anymore.
No.
They'd just be
There's already so many horrible things happening in the world, Michael. Why would you call that into manifestation?
Okay. Sorry, right. Jacob's dada storyline, Gemma, back on the streets. And we were just talking about him the other day, weren't we? It was yesterday when we were driving up to London. We were trying to go through all the characters and say, what was the last thing that they did?
Yeah.
And
that's
Jacob's
kind of fun things.
Yeah, we managed to go the whole of the way to London without putting a podcast or music on or anything.
Trying to remember what they all were up to last.
And as far as we could remember, the last thing that Damon had done was get arrested for having drugs in the boot and having Nick looking down on him. And that was indeed
looking at him parallel.
What we last saw.
Right, so on Monday, over breakfast...
Oh yeah, sorry, the Jacobs... I've put the stuff with because it's tangentially related because it's Sam related.
We've got some story about Ruby and Fizz and everyone in here for some reason.
Well, no, it's Sam, isn't it? It's Sam and his date with Hope.
Ruby's teasing Hope because she fancies Sam and Hope's mortified, and that is the correct use of the word. Let's stop making mortified mean I was scared to death.
Stop saying that whenever anybody means mortified.
It's my
That's
bugaboo.
your thing.
Fizz thinks it's hilarious, and Hope says, "Can you take me to the cinema because I want to see a film with Sam?" So Tyrone tells Nick about Sam and Hope having a date later. This was quite interesting because don't recall many scenes with Tyrone and Nick together.
Well, there was that scene where Tyrone punched Nick in the face, so they've come a long way since then.
Well, yeah, they're having little dad chats, aren't they, about their kids dating, and Nick thinks it's cute. And reminds Tyrone that Sam's not really talking to him at the moment, so he can't really help out. They think it's cute because they're both very young, but in a few years' time, Tyrone's going to be telling Nick that his son better not get my girl pregnant.
Aww. Sam wouldn't know what to do with it.
Wow.
Although he's probably read it in a book, to be fair.
He's probably going to explain it in deeply unsettling scientific detail.
Probably could, couldn't he?
So, Tyrone and Nick get a drink in the pub later, and Tyrone's like, don't give up on Sam. And they talk about the fact that if their kids end up getting married, they could be related one day. And they also say that Sam's written Hope's name on
No, Hope's got Sam's name written all over Hope's pencil case, and that's how you know it's true love.
Right, so later on, this is so cute.
This is my favourite scene of the week, I think.
We're sitting on the sofa next to each other, and Sam's got a little suit on. Although I was schooled on Twitter because it's not a suit; it was a jacket with a separate pair of trousers.
Oh, it's the same thing.
But did he have a bow tie or
no, he had a proper tie.
Right,
he had a tie.
Oh, a tie. And he looked so dapper, didn't he? And he's brought her chocolate. So cute. And they're all quiet and shy. And Tyler's like, this is so funny, I want to take a photo. And I was like, no. So they go off to the cinema together. We don't really hear how it goes.
No, we don't. And I was thinking, oh, brilliant. We got a week of Hope and Sam dating, and this story's going to be lovely all week. But literally, it's kind of cut dead at that point, isn't it? I mean, I don't really see... I know that she's been very supportive of him and sitting at the bus stop and everything with him, but she's gonna break his heart one day, isn't she?
I see us in Hope and Sam.
Do you?
Because Sam's a little wear a tie to weird work. Nerd like you, and Hope is obsessed with murders.
Well, she certainly set Sam's heart aflame this week.
Adorable. Do you think that it would be too soon if they got married for Tyrone to make a bunch of jokes about arson in the Father of the Bride speech?
I think so. I mean that we could be seeing here, the Craig and Faye of the future, because they always had. It was a bit weird because Craig was always that much older than Faye when she was pregnant, and he was. Was he an adult at that point? I can't remember. No. Or was he was he 16? He was definitely older than her, and it felt a little bit odd. But these two are the same age. But no, I think, But now Craig and Faye are back together again. That's all I'm saying. So are we seeing like the genesis of a couple that are going to be together?
Well, because Craig and Faye are not riveting, are they?
They're not riveting. I really, really hope that these two stay riveting.
Honestly,
I don't know what I don't know.
It could work really well.
It could. Anyway,
I'm
they're terrified that one day Sam is not going to be a lovely, sweet.
Cute.
Yeah.
It's happened before.
You got a 50-50 chance. We're not going to name names. I'm going to name names.
On Wednesday.
David.
Okay, right.
David made that transition from cute kid to compelling adult character perfectly. But we all know who hasn't, don't we? Okay, I'm not going to name names. And I want Sam to be a David and not one of those other ones. Are we ready? Yes,
on Wednesday, go on. Leanne's like, I need a new school jumper for Sam. Oh God, this was boring. Sarah's like, here's one from Max. She says, I don't want a racist jumper.
Not a racist jumper that's been breathing the same air as Nick.
And then Sarah and Nick talk about Leanne. And she's like, oh, is she still being a raging bitch? And they're like,
only for the past 20 years, yes.
And then Nick goes around the flat to give her the jumper. And she's like, I don't want a jumper anymore. I hate you. And then Sarah says, I'm fed up with him.
You and Nick are great together.
Oh, and she's like, no.
I felt bad for Jane Danson in this because she's not been in it loads, but Leanne has been like just full on narc.
It's like
mode,
the writers
the
have gone
few months that she's been in
narc.
It.
Yeah,
she's been narky. Sorry, not a narc.
No, she is a narc.
she just like deeply unappealingly
frosty.
Yeah,
and arsey.
Massive.
It's like the writers went. Do you remember all that sympathy that we got for her when
Ollie
killed
died?
Off her kid? Let's just spray it into the wind.
I mean, I get it. Her husband, boyfriend, brought her. Did a deal with a drug dealer and everything.
Blah blah blah.
But
who hasn't?
She's just got away, and it's great performance. It's a great performance. A way of really grating on me when she's like that.
Can I just remind you that it was actually Sam's idea to kick him out, and Leanne's just like completely bandwagoned it.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't even her idea, and she's acting like he's crapped in her cornflakes.
I bet she doesn't have cornflakes. She probably has.
Bran.
Yeah, bran muesli or something.
She's like, I don't want to enjoy a second of my day.
Grape nuts.
I don't want any pleasure anywhere. Her alarm on her phone is probably just the sound of like a pneumatic drill. She wakes up and goes, yeah, another bad day for Leanne. Great.
Oh, what's happened to you, Leanne? Back in the late 90s, you were probably high on Lucky Charms and things.
And when she goes to bed, she like sleeps on a breeze block. She's like, yes, this is what I deserve, Leanne.
Better nails, I think.
Sad. I live a sad life. Right, so that's the end of that.
Happiness.
That's the end of that. I did enjoy her stirring what I'm not even sure was actually a pan. Let alone anything in the pan, but she spent a lot of time stirring it.
The Adam story did get going, the Adam side of the story, which I realise is not really related to anything we've said so far.
Well, that's the end of that then, and then we move on to Adam with Dee Dee, who is actually the world's best lawyer.
It's related because of Damon,
and she can do lawyering in any country.
Yes.
And Adam's like, everyone hates me because of my ponytail. And the fact that my partner is dead.
I did nice that Imran did get quite a few shout outs this week.
Well, but he's like, we're going out of business. And
Adam's
Dee Dee's
hair
like,
hasn't gone uncommented on online. That's all.
And Dee Dee says, I didn't realise how bad things were. And he's like, well, I would never admit it. And she says, don't worry, we'll be able to turn it around.
Because I'm a hotshot lawyer.
Because I'm the best lawyer in the world. And also, here is my Rising Star award. Dee Dee Bailey Rising Star.
We need to see more.
We saw when she came in. She did a great job get a demonstration James. Of her being a good lawyer. But since then, I just feel like we've just been told every single scene that Dee Dee is the best lawyer in the world. And I don't believe it.
I'm sure we've seen her in court doing something else, but I can't remember what it is.
We've seen her a few times, and
She's a bog standard, I'm going to say, to use...
She's a fairly average
Street
lawyer.
parlance.
Or what, solicitor or whatever.
I mean, she hasn't had the Imran in court... taken down Jeff Metcalf moment, has she? That's what she needs. You're right, we are just being told
over
how
and over again.
Yeah.
So on Friday,
actions, not words.
Another client turns Adam down, and he's devastated. I don't know why, because it sounds like it was about a fence.
It was another bloody boundary dispute
And my
story.
question
I think it was
here
Jeremy
is,
Baramy back again from last year.
How much money can he be milking them for this fence? How much money has he lost really out of this?
Oh yeah,
really? How much is it? It must be bad.
He
if
just
this is like
nobody's interested
snatching
in him anymore.
food out of his children's mouths.
Yeah, I think I think the reason why he's really bitter about this is clearly they're losing all these clients because the only reason people came to Barlow's before is because they liked hunky Imran.
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought I was the handsome one, but clearly it's not me.
He heard that there was everyone kept coming because they heard there was shagging going on in the office, and they thought they might better join in.
Yeah,
but the randy one's dead now.
Yeah.
So anyway, Damon turns up, and he's looking for Dee Dee because they went out with each other very briefly. And Adam's like, Adam doesn't know.
No, he doesn't know who he is. He kind of introduces him.
And Dee Dee arrives, and she's like, "Oh no, not you!" And she tells Adam who this guy is. Before telling him to get lost.
They said that he's out on bail, didn't they? I think they needed a little bit more explanation of why he was there. It took too long for the viewers to be told this is why he is back now.
You could assume.
You could have, yeah. But...
It's you don't always remember what the last thing that happened with the character is when they've not been in it.
It was It was 4 or 5 weeks.
Well, presumably
maybe.
That's why we had Nick and Leanne sniping at each other because.
Yeah, it was let's remind the viewers.
So she goes, "Get out of here, you horrible rich man who has lots of lawyer needs. We don't need you here." And Adam's like, "Oh, wait a minute.
Rich man, you say."
So later on, Adam's like, "Right, call me crazy, Dee Dee, but I'm thinking to myself, we could be lawyers for Damon." And she's like, "No, I will never represent anyone who's done any crimes."
It's like, hello, Alia.
She does this all the time. She's like, "We can't represent somebody who's morally indefensible. I could never do that, even though I am the world's greatest lawyer."
Adam's just like banging his head against the wall at this
point.
point.
What did you people expect you were going to do? Why are you working here? Why don't you go and work for, like, the Crown Prosecution Service or something?
It is funny.
You know what I mean?
It's funny stuff.
What did you think you were going to be doing? You want to work on fences all your life, or do you want to do something exciting? Because this is exciting. He does drugs. And he's not the only one who does drugs. Have you seen Carla recently? Anyway. So she's like, "No way. We can't do it." And
I want a face-off between Rufus and Damon. That's killed that conversation dead, hasn't it?
Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
They're on each other's turf, you know.
Yeah, I know. He wants to be the sole purveyor of LSD to... Stephen doesn't need it anymore anyway. He's got rid of Carla. So, Damon comes back. Adam invites him back. And Adam's like, honestly, I can't believe the gall of this man to sit in what is actually a dump. That office... looks like a dump, doesn't it?
I know, I'd kind of give them the benefit of the doubt in the opening year of the business, maybe. But Barlow's Legal Services has been going quite a while now, and nobody's cleaned up.
Shoddiest hole where you would imagine that you work, what kind of... Yeah, they should be working on fences. And he's like, "Listen, I know you got a bunch of hotshot lawyers, but we're better because we don't spend our money on decorations and... real coffee. We're so busy. We have instant coffee. Yeah. And we want to we can do a better job." And he's like, "I'm listening." And Adam says, "Yeah, Dee Dee's the best in the world. And she'll wipe the floor with whoever's going up against him." And Dee Dee's like, "I'm not going to lie. I am the best."
Actually, the universe.
the whole universe, nobody's ever been as lawyery as she is. And they've even got a little thing on an iPad. It's got literally all of her stuff that she's ever done.
Yeah,
and
we didn't get to see it too closely.
And he looks at it, he's like, this is mostly American things. And she's like, yes, that's right, nobody can check, because it all happened in America. It's like, it says here that you tried Donald Trump and found him guilty of war crimes. She's like, that is correct. I assume you didn't watch the news. And he's like, no. And she's like, brilliant. So she's like, yeah, mostly is America, but I also negotiated my my brother for a football contract. And he's like, your brother James Bailey, who is no longer a footballer.
What did she negotiate? Was that what it was? I
She
thought
got
it was
him
just got a decent dismissal
severance
money
pay or whatever.
Pay,
yeah. So anyway, and he's like, all right, yeah, sounds fine. She's like, hang on a minute. I haven't decided if I want to be your lawyer, and maybe I will. I'm not sure. Because and Damon's like interested because he wants to get back with her, and he leaves, and Dee Dee's like, how are we going to look people in the eye? This guy's terrorised people, our neighbours. It's a bad idea.
Adam's kind of a couple of times, I think, during the episode saying, oh, well, it's not a conflict of interest. It's like, I think it kind of is.
Well, she would know, and she's the best lawyer in the world.
You know, it's not a legal conflict of interest, but I can't think that Sarah's going to be too happy when she finds out.
This is what annoys me about why they couldn't have Toya be a counsellor. Because if it doesn't stop Adam from like taking on everybody's cases against everybody else left, right, and centre.
He did say, like, at the end of the scene, yeah, we need to keep this one under our hats. Let's see how well that goes, Daniel.
I'm sure it'll be done perfectly. And Damon's watching Nick.
Yeah, he's doing a bit of stalking out at the end of the episode.
So we don't know what he's up to. We assume he's gonna get his revenge on Nick. He's had his nose put out of joint here.
I'm about as interested as Damon's plans for revenge as I was Damon's plans for dealing drugs and lording it over the bistro, by which I mean not really at all interested. So this coming back into it today has kind of filled me with despair, I'm going to say.
I'm not going to say I'm...
It's like, yeah, it's kind of nice that Dee Dee's got something to do. Yeah, it's gonna.
See, the interesting thing about this is that Dee Dee's actually the only solicitor character who I think actually does have a moral, like, real conflict of interest kind of idea about worrying about defending somebody. Because Imran was a bit of a shock, but he ended up being the good guy when they had the Yasmin case, didn't he? Because he was Yasmin's lawyer,
yeah,
right?
he was generally
the good
on
guy.
the side of good.
We've never really seen... Have we seen Adam doing anything?
I think he does different types of lawyering.
Defence lawyering.
I'm sure people have told us.
And we've had... who was Sophie's girlfriend?
Paula,
who supposedly was a lawyer, but we never saw
she
her
was a proper
anything.
hotshot. No, I'm sure we did.
Well, anyway, but actually having Dee Dee represent Damon and actually trying really hard to get him off is going to be interesting if she actually does do it, because she's the best lawyer in the world, so she's going to get him found not guilty.
I think that she probably will.
She will.
And I hope she does it in a good way. I really need there to be a top-notch script when Dee Dee does her
I want her to like have Leanne on the stand and like rip her to shreds and then sit down in disgust and be like, what have I become?
She needs to She needs to be the one that goes up against Stephen or something. Like, Damon is such
but he's not in that storyline. We're talking about the storyline we got now.
I don't
I'm
think
talking
she can
about
do
the possibility of having her actually... Imagine if she had Sam on the stand and she was like, well, did you ever see him do anything? No? You know?
Yeah, that reminds me a bit of
really
when Imran had a go at Asher.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Didn't take no prisoners to do.
And he was like,
had to do what he had to do.
Yeah, that's true. And that was when he had that confrontation with Dev, and he's like, I've only just begun.
Speaking of Dev.
Oh. Hat man.
Say no more. What was that? Like, I think Jimmy had just turned up at work one day
and
saying,
everyone was too scared to
I
ask
think that
him.
today Dev should wear a hat.
And everyone's like, just let him do it.
Yeah, just whatever, Jimmy. Okay. Hat and a beard. He looked a bit
He looked like he
kind
just
of
come
Elvis
off holiday.
Costello-ish, kind of. I think.
He looked like he wanted to be in Benidorm.
Yeah.
But it's not on
What
anymore.
type of hat was that?
Fedora? I don't know.
I don't know. It was just
hat.
like.
Any brimmed hat is a fedora. I know they're different.
What on earth was that? What on earth?
But to me, they're all fedoras.
But it feels like it's been a while since we've had some good quality deving on the Coronation Street. So very pleased for this. And he did make an appearance in Evelyn's story today.
I know. What did he give her? I'll never know now.
I know.
I thought he was going to give her one of these burgers you can heat up in 30 seconds.
Because
he was really into that.
Yeah, so it is Evelyn's birthday today, 77 today, and she's
I don't think they ever mentioned that.
Yes,
Where did
they
she get?
did.
Oh, all right.
They definitely did. And then she got a lovely homemade card from the girls, and a card with some making fun of old people from Tyrone, which she is not appreciative of. No, and they're really keen that she has some sort of party, and she's not too chuffed about the idea, but she goes along with it because I think she thinks it's a chance to get Roy round, and she's a bit randy for Roy.
She's randy for Roy. The way she talked about this card, she's saying, "Oh, there's no other group that is acceptable to make fun of like it is the elderly. Everyone's always picking on us." It's like, oh, calm down, Griff. She's going to turn into like the old age version of a white supremacist. What would that be? An old age supremacist?
White-haired supremacist.
Have her around the community centre being like, these young'uns, they're like crayfish.
Anyway, so she goes to the cafe and gets chatting with Roy, and they just have a lovely little skit together, and it ends in her inviting him to her non-party because she's like, oh, whatever, if you
don't want any
want to
candles.
come, if you're too busy, don't bother. But that she really seems to have ramped up the affections for Roy, hasn't she? There's been slight hints of it in the past, but they were really hammering home that she's
sweet on him.
She's a bit sweet on him, exactly.
Well, no, she's Evelyn, so she's a bit sour on him because she can't do.
So they have the party, they have the cake, they have the decorations and everything. She's got a lovely jigsaw of Cerberus from Hope, was it, I think, that gave her that. Ruby's got her a box of Kenners, and Evelyn just keeps saying, oh, I'm sure Roy will be here soon. I don't want to open all the presents, but alas, Roy can't come because he's too busy putting out Carla's flaming toast. So she sees him in the street later and is a bit narked at him, but and she says, well, just for your information, it was a lovely party and you weren't missed. So
that's her way of saying I love you.
Yeah. Once again, Evelyn is a bit snitty with Roy, but I'm sure they'll make up.
It's like with kids in the playground, if they pick on you, it's because they fancy you.
I liked Evelyn's line today where Roy said, no need to be facetious, and she says, why not? It's about the only pleasure I have left.
I thought that was
my
funny.
Top line today. But good stuff. Do you want something to happen with Evelyn and Roy?
Well, as usual, I'm baffled about how old everybody is, but they're a very similar age. The actors are. I don't know how old Roy is. But
I'm gonna say
the actors are like
they're similar
4
enough
years
that it doesn't
apart.
really make any difference.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're completely suited to each other, are they?
It's not going to work.
They make a great double act, a really, really great double act, and
I think I would be fine if they did something like they did with Audrey and Ken back in the day, where they were like, should we? And they're like, tried it, and they're like, nah.
Yeah. I mean, Roy, as we've seen with Kathy, isn't completely adverse to, trying somebody else out now Hayley's kicked the bucket. And it could make a fun little,
One does not try Evelyn out, Michael.
little 6-week story, maybe. I want to see more stuff in the charity shop.
Yeah, me too.
They need to get that set built pronto. And, as a duo, Mavis and Rita style shop duo, they could be great, but they just haven't quite lent into it far enough yet. So anyway, that is it for this week's Coronation Street. Once again, darling, I have to say I very much enjoyed discussing all that with you, but how are we going to score this week's Coronation Street?
Well, it went downhill, didn't it?
Yes,
started off at maybe
because it was dead exciting. Like Monday, the Justin arrest, the Beth and Marco in the restaurant, the Sam in a tie. I mean, that was proper gold. That was. So there was the only way was down from there. But it just felt like Wednesdays was just whatever. I'm not too interested in today's. Had its moments.
I enjoyed a lot of the stories though. And I quite liked I loved Miley.
Yeah, I mean, I complained. Well, I didn't really complain. I mentioned the fact that we didn't have the Paul Wonky Hands story this week, but I'm not really that fussed about that. I am still just a bit miffed that with the Amy and Aaron stories falling off a cliff, but I'm sure it'll come back soon enough. I'm going to say. I'm going to give it 3.5. 3. I'm going to say 3. A good strong 3. But not quite 3.5. I'm giving it 3 risks worth taking.
Are you?
Yes. What about you?
I'm going to give it 3.5 behind the back Werther's Originals, which is what Faye accused Tim of smuggling to Miley. Do they have Werther's Originals in Canada?
Yeah, why not? Okay, character of La Semaine.
Very, very Quebec.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
How do you say it?
Quebecois.
Quebecois.
I'm not going to say Carla because she's just a misery guts, although Alison King was great. Good performance.
Well, listen, this is the thing about all these misery gut women, you know, they are, the actresses who play them are playing the part as they're supposed to.
Yeah, but still yet, despite all the misery and hardships and everything she's gone by, it hasn't really hit Daisy yet. I'm not fed up of Daisy. She's getting stalked. She's having a bad time.
There's a difference between being a misery guts and being having misery heaped upon you.
Yeah, so she's reacting to it in a good way. I'm not thinking, oh, Daisy, you're just crying and moaning and whinging all the time, because she's not. She's staying strong.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't agree with you that Carla and Leanne are miserable because because of the plot. I think they're supposed to be miserable.
I think that my character,
like grumpy girls,
of the week is going to end up being.
Who's it going to be?
It's a hard one.
I want to give it.
I could think of lots of people for Monday, but then did they carry on for the rest of the week?
I'm going to give it to Stephen because I liked the way that the episode ended today with him like king of the world and sitting there feeling like he's won. And I also really liked it when Rufus confronted him and him squirming and like his desperate look of panic. I think he's great. I love Todd Boyce. I love Stephen. I think. I'm ready for, like you say, a bit of hibernation for this story, as Stephen just gets on with the job, and then eventually murders Rufus.
Okay. Oh, it's really hard. Really can't decide. I'm like going between Daisy, Evelyn, Beth. Even don't think I can give it to Beth because she is being very stupid about sneaking about on her phone and stuff.
Well, Coronation Street is not a programme about everybody making very sensible decisions, is it?
I really can't decide. Is it Evelyn just for today?
Well, it's her birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on then.
Oh.
This is what I used to do. It's annoying.
Oh, I'm going to give it to Daisy again. I can't help it. I don't know. I keep giving it to Daisy, but she was so great on Monday when she stood up to Justin, and it was a risk worth taking. But I
liked all the dirty looks that she gave Daniel as well today when he was telling her that she had to make Tracy her bridesmaid.
She's so brilliant. She's so good. Tell you who's not going to be my character of the week and has managed to avoid possibly even getting a single mention this week.
Yeah.
Steve McDonald.
Was he in it?
Yes, he was bloody in it. Arsing her. There was that good scene, actually, fairly good, that I sort of missed first time round, that you pointed out, when he's on the phone and it feels like it's written to make it look like he was talking to Tracy and saying, I can't come home.
That was clever writing.
And it turned out it was him. But he was driving down the road in his cab at one point, and he was just Steving it up. Anyway, not too bad a week at Coronation Street.